welcome to The Zest, the official podcast of Orange Coast Magazine. Today's guest is Jeff Chon. He is the owner of the Japanese restaurant Oakencoal, which also has a speakeasy called the Oak Room that you can find me at most weekends, as well as the hot pot restaurant Tabu Shabu. Thanks so much for being here, Jeff.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So you and I met back when you first opened Oakencoal. Sam and I, like my husband, came in like twice a week at one point.
Yeah.
I remember my expenses went like rent and then like yakitori.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. It's like, I've just always been addicted to it. But I've gotten to know your story like over the years, and I'm excited to dive a little bit deeper with you.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
Yeah. So I know that you purchased your first restaurant at 23 years old. I just want to like open with that because I think that's so wild.
Yeah. It was a legacy restaurant called The Alley in Newport Beach. I was a baby when I first took it over. So it was quite daunting, but that kind of opened up the doors for everything else I've done till now.
Yeah. And I want to get to that. But first, I want to jump back a little bit to when you were a kid. What city did you grow up in?
So I grew up most of my childhood. I was born in Boston, grew up most of my childhood in New Jersey. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And didn't get to California until I was probably about 15. Yeah. So most of my formidable child years were in New Jersey. So Bergen County.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
What brought you guys out to California?
My dad's business was out here, so he was going back and forth between the coasts. And at some point, he's like, it doesn't make sense for that to still happen. So he moved the family out to California.
Nice. And was it Orange County that you moved to?
No, actually, I originally moved to Torrance, which is in like the South Bay area, and then I lived there, and then we jumped to Palos Verdes for a little while, and then from Palos Verdes, I actually didn't come to Orange County until I went to college, which I went to Irvine.
And Irvine, right?
Yeah, I went to UCI, and I was at UCI, and then started my career, and here I am in my 40s now. So, yeah. So
I saw that you majored in international studies and management at UCI.
Yep.
What were you hoping to do with that major?
I have no idea. I could not tell you a single thing from college that is of any use. Sounds terrible, but I really wasn't. I guess as job focused at that point. I just kind of didn't know what I want to do and was like, hey, business sounds good, or management, or international studies, any major that could have landed on my plate, I would have taken it. But it probably wasn't until I started working in my later years of college where I was like, okay, this is kind of the direction I want to go in. So what did I want to gain from college? I have no idea. Not that I'm knocking it for people that love it.
Right.
I think that, I tell my kids the same thing, is like, you have to kind of know what you want to do for it to make sense. Right. So you can go to college all day long, but if you don't have a direction when you're in college, you're just kind of figuring out what you're going to do. So college is a great place to socialize and really understand how how to get organized. But in terms of practical real life knowledge, I can't say that I got a lot of it from college. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it helped me with work ethic and
totally. Yeah. You got to balance time, right? You got to study. You got to know when to party and when not to party.
Yeah, exactly.
Your grades. But outside of that, I mean, I'm not quite like I couldn't probably tell you a single class that I took in college. Really sad. I think the only class that really kind of was super pertinent was I took a business law class.
Oh, wow.
That was super useful, I think. I mean, in the real world, at least for what I ended up doing for a living, right? So, if I chose a different career path, I'm sure possibly, the statistics class I took may have come in handy, but I can't say that I used any of that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I haven't used anthropology to this day. So,
okay, there you go.
Yeah. But I saw that, or I think you've told me before that you got into real estate while you were in college.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was in my latter years of college, and real estate market was really hot at the time. And so, I was also a server at the Cheesecake Factory.
Nice.
I worked originally at the one in Redondo Beach when I was younger, when I was still in high school. And then I moved on to work at the one in Irvine Spectrum and the one in Fashion Island. I worked server. I worked in Expo line. So I kind of got an idea of the back of house, front of house. And I almost ended up working for corporate cheesecake factory until I got the opportunity to get my first restaurant. So that ended up not happening. But so I was a server, and then I decided that, strike while the iron's hot. Everyone's in real estate, might as well jump in.
Yeah.
And I ended up working for Prudential Real Estate in Anaheim Hills. And, did the old school sales tactics, knocking doors and, going and trying to find new clientele. And it was good. It was a good experience of kind of busting out of a shell. Cause, with college, you're in a shell of just the people and the people you're friends with. And, there's really no uncomfortable moments. But I think real estate forced me to get into uncomfortable moments, things that were outside my normal repertoire. And I think it was good for me overall from a sociological standpoint of knowing people and understanding that was definitely invaluable. So, and I did okay with it, but I also realized that while I was doing it, that, it's probably not the best suited career path for me. I just, I didn't have a passion for it the way some other people do. And I definitely thought that, it was a means, but it was a means to another end. So.
Right. That's crazy though, that you were doing that real estate and a server job, that college and a serving job. That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot to juggle. Like I said, college was kind of on the back burner for me, but, I was able to finish it off and get my bachelor's degree. But it was definitely like, back burner, like this is secondary priority. I was more interested in, hustling and trying to make money and starting a career. So
wow.
That took precedence. But yeah, I enjoyed every minute of it. But, when you're in your early 20s, you can run for days with little amounts of sleep and high amounts of alcohol and whatever else you want to throw in the mix. You somehow figure out a way to get through it.
Right. So, as I mentioned, you were 23 when you purchased the alley. I think when I was 23, I just started a job as like a marketing assistant. Yeah. And that was daunting for me. I can't imagine taking over a whole business. It was like an established business.
It was, which, that makes it a little bit easier, I suppose, rather than starting something from scratch. There's a built-in system and you kind of just have to learn the system. And then, over time, evolve it to become your own rather than somebody else's that you took over. So it was a legacy restaurant, been there forever. It already had a certain level of performance. And, my mentality was to come in and make it better and improve it. And, and that's what I did over the years. But my dad was an entrepreneur his whole life, and he was self-employed, and he retired out of the hotel ownership business. And so he was a big source of support for me and understanding small business and how to run my own and the work ethic necessary to succeed. And so a lot of it's if I didn't have him, it would have been a lot more difficult, if not impossible. So I definitely have a lot of credit due to my dad.
What were some of the challenges that you had to overcome?
Being young was a big one, actually. Not in terms of, my lack of ability, but more just the fact that I was young. And so everything was a little bit more intimidating. People were a little bit less apt to listen to somebody my age. Not to mention, I also look extremely young, younger. I mean,
not to brag.
Now I'm starting to, kind of come into my age a little bit. But back then, I mean, I looked like a baby still, and so that was a hurdle, trying to get people to show you the level of respect while looking at a certain age and having this massive responsibility at a young age. But I always said that, respect is earned and it's never given. And I earned it, I think, by showing, employees, colleagues that I'm willing to work harder than anybody else. I'll put in more hours. I'll do what I need to do to prove that respect is warranted. So I think it served me okay. I ended up doing well. A lot of the employees when I took over there were, in their 30s and 40s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't a young staff. So, they definitely had that attitude of like, who's this kid and why is he telling us what to do? But I think that, with enough time and them seeing my work ethic and seeing how diligent I was with the business, they eventually said, he works hard, so age isn't a factor. So, but there
Yeah.
is an initial barrier for sure.
What were some of the things that you did to change the alley to make it your own?
Well, in the beginning, the very first thing I wanted to do was change the food. I thought it
Oh,
needed
really?
a revamp. It had a very consistent clientele, but it was very limited to much older clientele. So, I wanted to liven it up, make it a little bit more youthful. We really pumped up the weekend champagne brunches.
Oh, nice.
And which was a big deal. And then at the same time, boost up that nightlife too, and have a little bit of a more sophisticated bar program that was a little bit more contemporary and modern. So we did that, and we saw phenomenal increases. I took over, and right in the first year, I believe we went up about 20%, and then the following year we went another 20% above that, and so and then it kind of steadily increased for the next 6-7 years, and I finally had it at a stable point where it was profitable, and employees all knew what they were doing, and so it was a challenge to get the new stuff in, the new food recipes and the new menu and the new drink program. But the staff there was phenomenal, and we were able to make it happen.
How'd you come up with the new food and drink ideas?
A lot of it was from my past experience. I mean, even like working with the Cheesecake Factory and eating out, and and being an amateur chef at home definitely helped. I definitely had a lot of, I'm definitely not a Michelin star, James Beard, chef worthy person that can go on top or anything like that. But, I definitely had a lot of ideas in terms of good home style food. And, I just implemented that in the restaurant, and it seemed to work.
Nice. And so Tabu Shabu came next in 2011, right?
Yeah. Tabu Shabu was 2011, and really silly thing. It was just I grew up eating hot pot or shabu shabu, and I loved the idea. And there were a few restaurants already doing it. California Shabu Shabu was a formidable force. And at that time, there was a guy that ran it, Leonard, who was super helpful in suggestions on what you can do for shabu restaurants. So I decided to dive into it, and I opened up the first Tabu Shabu on 17th Street in Eastside Costa Mesa. And I actually ended up just going to a couple buddies and being like, hey, I'm not sure if this is going to work. It's a very ethnic cuisine for a very non-ethnic audience. I think the Newport Heights Mesa area was at that point like 97% Caucasian, demographics. And we're like, this is a pretty Asian centric concept. I'm not sure how it'll fare over, but so I had two of my buddies, and one was a high school buddy of mine, and the other one was a buddy from the alley who was a Long Beach firefighter. And I said, hey, you guys want to throw some bucks in at something that might work? And they were game. So we did it, and we started with a really limited budget, and we opened our first Tabu Shabu in 2011, and definitely learned a lot about construction. We started with a new build, and it was a small footprint, but still a ton of work. And dedicated there, every day for quite some time.
I was literally there last week.
Oh yeah.
It's so, I love it so much because it's like, it feels so indulgent, but it's so healthy. And like, sometimes after like ramen, I feel like bloated, but I don't feel that way after eating Tabu.
No, it's definitely, it's nice that it's very fulfilling. It's definitely not, people equate it with being health conscious or diet related, but you don't feel that way when you're eating. It's not like going and getting a salad somewhere. You feel like you're being very overindulgent, but all of our proteins are very high quality, portioned out very specifically, all fresh vegetables delivered daily. We really try to focus on the freshness and the health aspect of it, but definitely not our selling point. Our selling point is that it's hearty and it's good. And I think once people discover it, if they haven't already, they really enjoy it.
Yeah, we took our friends there for their first time, and she was like so excited that you had Snake River Farms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so most of our proteins come from Snake River Farms and Double R Ranch, which in comparison to other shabu hot pot restaurants, our quality of meat tends to be a little bit higher. A lot of the new age shabu restaurants are all you can eats or And which is fine. It's quantity over quality, and so it's kind of all what somebody's in the mood for. If they want a lot, then maybe our place isn't really designed for them. We're more about the level of the quality of the protein first. So
yeah, I mean, it's still a lot of food. Like even just the regular size, it's like a good amount. And I love the porridge option that you guys offer.
Oh yeah. That's my favorite. Yeah. So definitely a little time consuming for our service staff, but it's a selling point for us. We love it.
Who came up with that? The porridge.
So before we actually opened up our first Shabu, we went to Japan and kind of tested out what real authentic Japanese style shabu shabu was. And we noticed that was a pretty common thing in the high end shabu restaurants is they did this little after you're done making your broth sort of, some people did it with noodles and we still do that as well, where we make like a soup. Mm-hmm. But, a few places did this porridge where they take the residual stock and boil it down with rice and egg. And we're like, this is phenomenal, So, and it was a home run.
Oh, it's so good. And it's like $6 too.
Yeah. It's a steal. I mean, it's nobody actually eats like the entire thing there. I think that would be quite gluttonous, but it's perfect because you can take it home and you reheat it and it's just as good the next day. So it's
good.
The second meal, and nothing really goes to waste. You use all your stock, you use all the vegetables you didn't eat, you eat the leftover meat that you didn't eat, and it all goes into that porridge or soup.
Yeah. And then we also noticed that there's is it the Godzilla challenge?
Oh, that's just Has
anyone done it?
Yeah, a lot of people have done it. It's we did it kind of as like a shtick, let's see if we can get some, obviously social media or virality with this. And now everybody does a food challenge, so we came up with it a few years ago, and a few people have tried it, but it is an ungodly amount of things.
So it's 30 minutes to finish a regular size?
Yeah, no. 30 minutes to finish 3 pounds, which is the equivalent of regulars 4 ounces. So 16 ounces. So 4 regulars to a pound. So it's 12 regular plates.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah. 12 regular plates, and you have to finish all your vegetables, your rice, porridge. We used to have a beer in there as well, but we noticed that didn't really go over well with people's stomach. We had a couple upchucks.
Shoot.
Yeah, so we're like, we're gonna nix the beer because I think the carbonation and then somebody trying to slam a beer after they've just consumed 3 pounds of meat is grotesque. So we eliminated the beer, but I would say the success rate on it's still about 20%. Dang, surprised at the people that are the ones that are the successful at completing it. It's not what you would expect. You'd expect this 250-pound linebacker to finish it. Those are the guys that actually do it and fail. It's always like the little 140-pound girl who just crushes it, and it's pretty cool to see that.
Dang, that's so cool. I hope I'm there one time when I see it. Okay, so I also wanted to ask really quick, who came up with the math problem that's in the bathroom for like when you're...
Oh, that's our marketing director, Michelle. She loves buying weird tchotchkes online. her Amazon bill on a daily basis is obscene, but she loves finding those little quirky things to put on the walls. It's pretty funny.
It took me like way too long. And I also never figured it out. My friend had to figure it out. I can't do that math problem for the life of me. So I guess college didn't help me much either, but
yeah, that's all right. That's all right. I don't think I've ever looked at the math problem long enough.
So good. Okay. So then you took over the Wayfair. What year was that about?
So that was 2014. We bought the Detroit Bar, which was another legacy music venue in Westside Costa Mesa, been around forever. And before it was Detroit Bar, it was actually a punk bar called Club Mesa. But this predates us. It predates me, so which means it really predates you. It was a big punk club in Costa Mesa. Then it turned into Detroit, and it ran as Detroit for a few years under a guy named Dan Bradley, who owns Memphis and Tin Lizzy now.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So Dan owned Detroit forever and ran a good venue there. They had a lot of, huge acts that had been through there, And I took it over as Detroit because Detroit was kind of, it ran its time. And one of the very first things that I noticed was the building, had really low ceilings. There's definitely stuff that could be improved on the visual surface level of it. So we took it over into 2014, closed it the very next day for about a year.
Whoa.
And then, completely revamped the interior, opened up all the ceilings, built a kitchen, which it never had a kitchen before. And then rebranded it as the Wayfarer and reopened again in 2015. And then, it's since been running as the Wayfarer and still is.
Man, I've never known it as anything but the Wayfarer.
Yeah, that speaks to a lot about your age, by the way.
Yeah,
You're the new age, I mean, I feel like I always thought that I was one of the young guys in the business, but now that I blinked my eyes and I let some time go by, I'm like, God, I'm becoming the old guy in the business.
No.
There's a whole bunch of younger, more savvy people that are coming into the industry. So.
Dang. Well, you mentioned that you added a kitchen to the Wayfarer. What made you add a bar? Menu. What made you want to add the menu?
I felt like, the days of just having a bar were a little dated, right? Like just going to somewhere purely to drink and party. It's kind of a dated concept. I felt like everywhere you went, at least, some level of food, whether it be tacos or light bar fare, is kind of necessary, especially to, ensure that you're not also over drinking and you're kind of pacing it out. So that was my big inspiration for wanting some level of food. We knew that being a live music venue, food wasn't going to be our centric, interest. So,
right.
We definitely made it into a lighter bar fare style menu and still exists that way.
So cool. And you guys have like themed nights, right? Like Friday's like 90s night?
Yeah, so it kind of, that's evolved over time. And, we used to have a reggae on Tuesday, Sunday was kind of for karaoke. And now I believe they have trivia on Tuesdays. So it's evolved. And then Friday, there's this great cover band called Sega Genocide that plays 90s cover.
Yeah,
and they've always been one of our most successful shows. And so we established them as a Friday night kind of regular where, it's now just known Fridays is 90s cover night. And it's so much fun. And it makes me crack up actually to see like the younger generation, like the Gen Zers, they all dig it. They love it. And it's like, wow, I wonder if they like think about it. They're like, these are oldies.
That's what I wonder too.
They have to. I mean,
cause it's like Britney Spears.
Yeah. Britney Spears. And you got like old school Dr. Dre and they're singing along with it and they love it, but I'm like, God, this to them, this is like back in the day when I was like, I don't know, singing, the Beatles, they look at it the same way. Is it like just old school, So it's funny that 90s is now like this segment of old school classic.
Yeah, it's like retro now.
I'm like, that was my music. That's what I grew up to.
Yeah, same. So funny. Okay, so in April, after we went to dinner for my birthday, we came to the Wayfarer. Everyone was freaking out of our band called Fart Barf. I was a little hesitant to see it. I was like, okay. And they're amazing. They were so great. And I loved them. And that's saying a lot coming from someone who almost exclusively listens to pop music. But how do you find the bands?
So we have a very, very talented buyer there. His name is Eric Kielman, and he's been there since the Detroit days. He was has been in the music business since he was a young guy, and he's in his 40s. And I think he has a real keen ear for, things that may not be on the top of the charts or, super, super popular, but he has a good ear for good music. And so I think he's always tried to curate a lineup there that is something up to caliber with what he believes is good music. And he's been really successful in that,
Yeah. So you ended up, you sold the Wayfarer and the Alley. What years?
The Alley was sold in January of 2021 to the founder of Chronic Tacos. His name is
Whoa.
Yeah. So Randy grew up with the alley, and he lives in Newport. And, we kind of started talking actually pre-pandemic, pre-COVID. And he said, I'd be interested if you were ever willing to let it go. And so we started the conversation, and it just kind of happened. It was very difficult, I think, for me to let that one go, being my first. All the employees were very close, like family.
Wow.
So that one was difficult for me to let go of, but it was time. I ran a course of 15 years there, and
wow.
I had a lot of good memories there. I met my wife there. There are a million different reasons why I absolutely loved it, but it was time for me to kind of close that chapter.
Yeah. Did your wife work there?
No. She was just a patron, and
what?
she worked at Mutt Lynch's at the time. So, after work, all the bartenders and, servers, the alley kind of was a hangout for the industry. So, we had all the servers from Mastro's, and, it was always a stop off point when you were finished with your shift. You had drinks there. So, which was great for me because industry loves hanging out with their industry. So, we would always party and drink, and I met her through being a patron. So,
how old were you guys when you met?
Oh, geez, I was 28. I was 28.
Nice.
Yeah, and so that was about 11 years ago now. So yeah, I was 28, 29. Yeah, 11 years ago. So
wow,
12 years ago. Shoot. That's well. Shit. It actually might be 13. I don't know. It's somewhere in that region. It was a long time ago. But I have two kids now. So I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. So, a lot of life stuff happened in between that time frame. And, as your life changes, sometimes you have to move on to a different chapter of your life. And that's kind of what happened. And, the Wayfarer was kind of the same thing. In 2017, I had my first. She was born in 2017, and so at that time, I decided to kind of withdraw a little bit from late night bar business and focus more on my restaurant stuff. And that's when we decided also to expand Tabu Shabu into the franchise company that it is now.
Yeah,
and start moving away from being in a bar till 3 a.m, 4 a.m, because I had my kid. And so the Wayfarer ended up continuing to run. Some of the other partners picked up the management and leadership from 2017 onwards, and then in this year we decided we met some phenomenal people that had a huge interest in it. They have a great story too. They're
cool.
The Suitors, Courtney and Justin Suiter, and Justin is a lead singer in a band. And so he played that stage many a times as Detroit and as Wayfarer. And so he obviously had an affinity to it. And then his wife, Courtney, was a bar manager at Detroit.
What?
So she worked there. Her family actually ended up starting the observatory. So she ended up going to the observatory when I took over the Wayfarer. But obviously she had this deep affinity for the old Detroit and Wayfarer. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Justin proposed to Courtney at the Wayfarer, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
A really deep rooted stories with that venue. And so when they approached us to possibly purchase it, I was like, I don't think it gets to be a better fit than that. So we took over actually just August of this year. So
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And I do want to touch on Love and Puree. So this was 2016.
Yes.
I went every Tuesday for Toddler Tuesday to get discounts on chicken nuggets because they were the best chicken nuggets. They're like, do you have a kid? I was like, no, these are for me.
Yeah, they were phenomenal nuggets. I'd eat those things all day long too. It's funny that idea was totally, born out of, having a kid, and my wife and her friends, they kind of, thought that it was a great idea to have freshly made organic purees on hand for newborns and babies and toddlers. And so we started this store. It was called Love and Puree. And it was kind of the idea of like, what's that one that who is it? Jennifer Garner. I think she has like that.
Are you talking about Jessica Alba?
Is it Jessica? Is it Jessica? No, yeah. Alba she has the Honest Company.
Yeah.
And then I want to say Jessica Garner has like a puree company. It's
okay.
Yeah, it's someone famous. It's called Once Upon a Farm. I believe it's Jessica Garner. Don't quote me on that, but it's someone famous, I feel like. And they had these fresh purees that are refrigerated. They're not baby food that's sitting in a dry aisle. They're these organic purees that spoil, and they, are made with fresh fruits and vegetables. And we're like, somebody needs to do that, in a more localized setting. So we had that idea of starting that kitchen, and, we ran it for about a year or so, and it was successful. It wasn't a home run. We ran into some big hurdles and understanding of organics and how quickly they do spoil, and and then kind of saw that it wasn't 100% feasible for the long term as a brick and mortar business. So we ended up selling the business to who's there right now, which is Tres Muchachos.
Yeah, they're great.
Phenomenal restaurant. They converted into a seafood primary restaurant with all this great wine, and they do a phenomenal job. So unfortunately, Love and Puree died, but it was born into something pretty cool.
Well, if she ever has extra chicken nuggets in the future, you let me know.
Well, we got the recipe. I'll get you the recipe.
I would love that. Okay, so now to my favorite of your babies, minus obviously your real babies, but Oak & Cole. I take everyone there. Like if they haven't been, or if they're coming from out of town, like I go there all the time. It's not just like the food and the cocktails that are amazing. Your staff feels like they make you feel like you're in a friend group with them. Like how did you foster that environment, or did it just like happen that way?
So, having a loyal, dedicated, hardworking staff is probably one of the hardest things in the hospitality industry. And then not to mention, post-COVID, having that is even harder, right? So I was very lucky to find the staff that I do there. A lot of them have been with me for a really long time. For instance, one of our managers there, Jose, he was actually hired as a busboy at Tabu Shabu in 2011. Whoa. So he's been with me since 2011, and then he came over to Oak & Cole when we opened Oak & Cole. So, 11, 12 years ago, he's been with me. And so, and then, a lot of the other staff is like that, Nick very well. And Nick was also hired as a busboy at Tabu Shabu before Oak & Cole was ever open. And then he came over to Oak & Cole and had a big part in how we developed that menu and that cocktail program there. So that is definitely the ongoing theme. And we've had new hires, and they've kind of fit into the same profile. We have phenomenal staff there that just, it's very family and close-knit. A perfect example is this year, I usually throw a holiday party for each of the restaurants, and we've done it all different places, Dave and Buster's, on a boat, usually it's just debauchery of people drinking, somebody possibly getting fired or written up. But this year I kind of, it's a weird year for the economy. And I offered my stores the option of cash bonus or a holiday party. Every single restaurant chose cash bonus, which is understandable. It's kind of the year where people are like, I could use extra money more so than going out and drinking one night. So, so all the stores chose cash bonus with the exception of Oak & Cole. Oak & Cole, I mean, and that just goes to show you the staff and their camaraderie and how much they like each other. Is they said, we want to party, we want to hang out with each other. We're foregoing the cash. We want to do something as a team, and it's pretty cool to see that. Definitely so cool. Not common, and but yeah, I'm very lucky that staff is very family oriented, family like, and which makes it hard for new people to come on board too.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, because they're pretty brutal, like with new staff, right? Because like new staff's new, right? They're learning, they're trying to figure out the systems, and if they don't get caught up quick enough, they're harsher than I would be as an operator, which I'm pretty harsh. I want things done in a certain manner. I want the best level of service and the best quality, and it's nice to have my staff even be harsher than me with new staff and being like, this isn't good enough, or you need to do this better. And I'm like, hey, it takes a lot off my plate, but
they care.
But it's a big barrier to entry for new staff because, if you're going to enter the family, they want to know you're willing to put the same level of work that they do. So
sounds like a TV show almost.
Yeah.
There's something funny, here.
People always say that. They're like, hey, what if they ever did like filming like Vanderpump or some sort of like reality show? You feel like, because I think they see our dynamic at the restaurants and they're like, oh my God, it's hilarious. Or you guys,
it's so fun.
I'm like, that's really short lived, and you're only seeing service level. 95% of it's really boring, and it's probably just bitching about like who's picking up the shift or why somebody was late, and it's not that cool and dramatic. 5% of the time it might be that dramatic, but most of the time it's pretty just nonsensical. I mean, all those shows are so dramatized.
Right. So true. So how did the Oak Room come about?
So we started Oak & Cole in 2017. I remember that because we opened it actually the week my daughter was born in May.
Oh.
And I had a lockbox on the door when I was at the hospital. And the store got broken into.
Oh.
And all of our computer systems got taken out. All of our audio systems got taken out. All this, it got robbed while I was at the hospital with my kid. And I just knew that I had to come back, get everything set up. And I think we opened about a week and a half after my kid was born, which, didn't go over very well with, the wife. Cause I'm like, I got to go open a restaurant now. So, we opened up in 2017 and we had a really good run. And about a year or two into it, I entered into the lottery to get a liquor license. The county has a lottery.
It's a lottery?
It's not always a lottery. You can apply and you can purchase new licenses, but it's very hard to get a new license for hard alcohol spirits because, we're kind of maxed out for the number of licenses we have based on population size. So every so many years, they release X amount of licenses, new licenses through a lottery system. So basically you go into this state office that has a bingo wheel and they just pop out balls. And if your name matches the ball, you get a license. So we ended up getting a license that way. And, we didn't really have the space to implement a proper cocktail program. The original size was very small. So, we did this pretty cool cocktail program out of the kitchen, you know, and, literally where we were making food, we were making drinks right next to it. And, strangely enough, it pretty much worked. And we were able to, have some cool cocktails and move a little bit of a cocktail program, but definitely not to the scale as we're able to do it now with Oak Room. During pandemic, landlord said that, there might be an opportunity to take over the space next door. And we said, that's an absolute for us. And we did the construction during COVID. And, as soon as the restrictions started lifting, we broke down that door and opened up the Oak Room. And it's been a hit since.
Oh, I love it so much. Is it still considered a Japanese record bar? Or is it?
Yeah. So I'd love to say yes, but I'll be 100% honest. We pretty much stopped playing records.
Okay.
We're just streaming now because it got to be, the bartenders get so busy.
Yeah.
And records, don't have the same play time as a playlist. So it's like every 30 minutes, they have to stop making cocktails and then, and then throw on a new album. And, and also, people would see our record collection, which is pretty cool vinyl collection. And like, oh, play that and be like, hey man, shut up. Just and let us put on whatever we're going to put on. And so it kind of became a little bit of pain. The record player is still there. We still have the capability of doing it, but definitely we kind of lean a little bit more on streaming now. I wish we could say we only play vinyls, but, that didn't work out so well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense though. And your menu kind of has changed a little bit over the years. The whole
we originally opened up as a yakitori restaurant, right? Yeah. Like pretty much only skewers, a couple small side dishes, but very, very centric on the skewers. And although it did well, we kind of noticed that it it wasn't doing as well as it could have. Right.
Mhm.
And what really opened our eyes to that was COVID. Skewers don't travel well
Oh, right.
because of the size of them and the way that they're cooked. They're very limited to, it's kind of like sushi.
Mhm.
If
Oh,
you're
right.
getting nigiri sushi that's made by a sushi chef, it's best eaten as soon as they drop that onto your sushi plate. And,
Right.
you eat it right away. The rice is the right temperature. The fish is the right temperature. Everything is the way it's supposed to be. Yakitori is very similar to that. When it comes
Yeah.
off that yakitori grill, which where we're using the Binchotan coals, it's cooked exactly the way it should be. Now, put it into a to-go box and you send it with a driver for 30 minutes, like,
Yeah.
change the game. So during COVID, we readjusted the menu to make definitely a lot more things that were COVID friendly and traveled well. A little bit more share stuff for like families to take out, and they could have it at home. And we noticed that what a good response we got from that. So when we reopened, we definitely moved away from the skewers and a little more on the other dishes, and it just kind of now evolved to where skewers are still part of the menu. Yakitori is still on the menu, but it is a more of a limited part of the menu, and everything else has expanded greatly. So it's the evolution of the restaurant. That's the kind of cool part of having a small restaurant with very versatile staff. We can make those changes. We can reinvent ourselves, and this version of ourselves has been around now for a few years, and I think it's here to stay. I think this is the direction we are going to be in for as long as I can see.
Oh, well, good. I love it. The bao, the eel, crispy rice,
Mm-hmm.
and yakitori. But those are my favorites.
Yeah,
They're so good.
Yeah. And we're doing all, I love, one of the things that I don't get to do that as much anymore because, with franchising and running multiple restaurants is I love food. And so with Oaken Coal, I get to still do specials, and, I just did one last week, right before Christmas. We did a slow cooked sous vide duck breast with like a miso honey vinaigrette, and it, came out really, really good. And it's fun for me to be able to create a new special and then see the feedback on it and see people's reaction to it. It's definitely why I do this. It's super fulfilling.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. So you mentioned franchising. What's next for you? So franchising Tabu Shabu. Are you going to franchise Oaken Coal?
I probably will not franchise Oaken Coal.
Okay.
Too many moving parts, and actually after franchising Tabu, I'm kind of learning that there's a lot of moving parts to even Tabu, which is a pretty simple operation, but still a lot of moving parts. We actually are probably going to move a little bit more towards corporate expansion for Tabu now, a little less reliance on franchising, but we still have some phenomenal franchisees. Our store in Orange Circle is a franchisee-run store. Our store in Thousand Oaks. We have one in San Jose. We have one in Tarzana that's about to open.
Wow.
Yeah, and we have one in Texas, which is our first one out of state. And so, although we love, and we have one in Huntington Beach. And so, although we love franchising, and we will continue to grow that way, the corporate growth is also in our wheelhouse. So
what's corporate growth mean?
like we're going to open our own stores, not just,
okay. Got it.
Franchising is basically giving our concept to an independent operator that runs their own store,
Right.
And so corporate means it would be controlled by us and run by us,
very cool.
And our own employees. So, but we're still going to do both. We enjoy both. And, the next few years are going to be a telltale sign of our direction, and how far we can really take the thing. And it's going to be fun. But we do actually have a new Oak/Tabu marriage baby that is going to be in a single restaurant called Oak by Tabu, which is going to be a combination of a Shabu Shabu style bar, but with our Oak vibes, dark room, craft cocktails, we'll do the yakitori, we'll do, the side dishes, we'll do kind of a more full scale restaurant called Oak by Tabu, and that will be in Nashville.
Wow.
And that will be run by no other than our buddy Nick.
Yes. So excited.
Yes. So that will hopefully be opening in later 2024.
Nice. Oh, I'm going to have to go see it. That sounds like the dream.
I'm excited about that. Nashville is super cool.
Yeah.
And I loved hanging out there, and I definitely see them growing in terms of food culture. We don't realize that where we live is pretty awesome for food, right? Like there's nothing you can't get.
Right.
Living here, like there's nothing. Like if you have a desire for great Thai, great Vietnamese, great barbecue, great Lebanese, like any of these cuisines, you're like, okay, well, I can find one.
Right.
At most we're driving maybe 20 minutes to go find it, but we don't really, I think, grasp how spoiled we are being in such a melting pot, we're in very diverse melting pot, being in LA, Orange County. And we're very spoiled when it comes to food. We can get a lot of different awesome food where, you have to realize that most of the rest of the country is not like that. You want a great bowl of ramen in, Nebraska, you're shit out of luck. Like, it's not going to happen, but we benefit from having all those cultures around us, that we have the best of those cultures here in terms of food. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to bring a little bit of our flair to Nashville, which is starting to get that. It's starting to, get an influx of people from all over this country, which makes it cool for the food scene.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Well, we're coming to the end of our time, but I do have 3 final questions for you that we call the Thoughtful 3. Okay. So as we talked about, there's a lot of ups and downs that come with being an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. What are some of the most significant lessons that you've learned from navigating both successes and setbacks?
Wow, that's a complicated. All right, that was a mouthful right there. Okay,
practice it all
that again. I'm gonna have to write that one
down. Okay, what are the most what did you learn from the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur? What
did I learn? I learned you can't give up. It sounds like such a cliche to say that. Never give up. Mm-hmm. Going on. It's like, all right, yeah, that's easier said than done sometimes, but it really is true. I mean, if you haven't failed in entrepreneurship or self-employment or, your own venture, whatever it might be, or in even any hobby or recreation you do, mm-hmm. if you haven't failed, you haven't really done it. Like you can't, I think it's bullshit for somebody to say, oh yeah, I've been doing this forever and, I'm good at it and I've never failed. It's like, well, yeah, I don't think you've really done it. You haven't really truly given yourself to it, because failure is part of it. Failure is what shapes you into being that identity of having done it, and so is not to get discouraged by failure. That's a big lesson for me, is not to get discouraged by failure and utilize it to do it better the next time and mm-hmm. learn. I mean, everything I'm saying to me when I'm coming out of my mouth, I'm like, this sounds so cliche, and it sounds like you've read it in every motivational book or stupid motivational meme that you see on Instagram. But
hearing it from an actual entrepreneur though who experienced it,
it's absolutely true. I mean, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs, and on failures, breaking those eggs and screwing up and learning what you could do better. And there don't have to always be these monumental failures where you're like, I've hit rock bottom. It's like, I'm not saying that that's failure. It could be just like, hey, I tried this and it totally didn't work. I still do that every day. Every day there's stuff I try that doesn't work. And I learn from when it does work to say, oh, well, that worked. Like maybe I can do it a little bit better. And then what's funny is I'll try to do that again and it screws up and I fail again. Like, well, shit, maybe that wasn't the formula, or that was a one-off. And I think that it's just always being able to pivot and always, I mean, if COVID taught you anything, being an entrepreneur, is learning how to roll with the punches and pivot and change is like essential to success. So, and the other thing is something I learned is that if you don't have a passion for doing something, don't bother doing it. It's especially this industry, so many people are like, oh, restaurants seem fun. I love cooking. It's like, dude, cooking for your girlfriend at home is way different than cooking for 300 people that come into your restaurant on a night. It's way different.
That sounds daunting.
You're gonna deal with some terrible criticisms and things that are that really hurt you to the core. I mean, you talk about Yelp, right? And
Yeah.
my humor with Yelp. I'm sure
I love it. I love it.
I always like to do what I call Yelp wars, which I'll be honest, Yelp is super beneficial. Like as an operator, like it kind of tells you what your keyboard warrior customers are saying, right? And some of it could be valid. Like if you see, something in your comments or your reviews, and it's like Jeff is a dick, it's like, and if you see that 9 times, it's like, hey man, like Jeff might be really a dick. I might not be using foul language in this.
I love it.
He might not be the best server, so it might be time to replace the best bartender. Right. So there is a lot to learn, and I think people that say I absolutely hate it. Yeah, I mean, it's harsh, it's critical, it's not easy to listen to criticisms, but it's here to stay. So you might as well use it to your advantage to learn and get better, rather than just say I hate it. I'm not going to address it, And so we've definitely learned from it, but it is harsh. Like you open a brand new restaurant, and I think Anthony Bourdain said it best when he was talking about Yelp. He's like, somebody writes worst restaurant ever. I'll never be back. It's like, dude, that's super hurtful to someone that just poured their life savings and every ounce of their energy and blood, sweat, and tears into a restaurant, and to have some a-hole just easily type in, "This place sucks. Please never come here again." It's like, God, that's brutal. So, I try to keep it comical, but I still always will read them. I'll take them into consideration, and they still are. It's still a valuable source of information. I just don't take it to heart, and don't let it completely ruin your motivation for doing better and continuing to improve. So yeah, you're gonna get haters. That exists in anything you do. Yeah.
Approach like risk now versus how you did when you were first starting out?
I think that comes with life changes, right? Back when I started this, I could go broke and be fine. You could survive off top ramen. I mean, same reason why I probably gambled back then a lot more too, because you can go to Vegas and completely blow your load and be like, oh, well, I don't have $1 to eat this month, but I'll figure something out, but right. Life changes. I got 2 kids now and a wife and a house and a mortgage, and these things that are there, whether or not I eat top ramen for the next month, right. they can't. Right? So that being said, risk is definitely a little bit scarier now, and I definitely a little bit more calculated, a little less all in the pot. Let's just go. Right. But you can't do this business without accepting at least a pretty high level of risk. But I don't think I put enough into it to say this is going to make or break me anymore, which I was willing to do in my 20s, less in my 30s, and not so much in my 40s. Yeah.
I mean, it's nice that you were like willing to do that in your 20s, because it really paid off.
Yeah. I think you have to, I think in your 20s and before you really have any true life obligations like a spouse or kids, or, obviously your own life is an obligation and you have to be able to support yourself. But, people are versatile, right? They're resilient, and, they'll be able to support themselves if they find a way. But when you got 2, 3, 4, 5 people, that are depending on you, it changes the game. So yeah, I mean, I sometimes wish I was still in my 20s. I wish I could approach risk the same way. I wish I could take, my entire paycheck and go to Vegas and be like, let's just let her, roll on black. And if I come up, I'm gonna get myself something cool this Christmas, or I can't do that anymore, So
definitely. And then lastly, what advice would you give to someone who's an aspiring entrepreneur?
I said it before, passion. Make sure that whatever you do is not just, it's because you saw somebody on Instagram do it, or because you saw, you think it's the cool thing to do. Make sure that you really do have a passion for it. And then if you have a passion for it, you should be dedicating your time to learning that passion and being really good at it. And then, did I lose you? Are you still there?
I'm still here. I don't know. Oh, there we are.
There you go. There you go.
Cox Wi-Fi, man. Sorry.
So yeah, have that passion, do your research, and marry what you're going to do. That's all it comes down to. I think at the very least, if you don't succeed in doing what you're doing after you've been passionate about it and you've married it, I think just the approach needs to change, because anybody that has that level of passion for something will eventually succeed. They just need to find the right path to get there. But without the passion, I don't think you'll ever succeed. I think that's the absolute necessary element to all of it, is that as an entrepreneur, if you're going to start a business, dude, do it 190%. And if it doesn't work out, you didn't lose anything by that except time and a little bit of energy, and you try it again. And I guarantee you, eventually you'll find a path towards success. But yeah, that would be my one life lesson that I could give.
Amazing.
That's all I got for you.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited to come see you at Oakencool again soon. But
yes, you let me know.
I will. Well, thank you again.
Of course. I'll talk to you later. Bye.